Hi, welcome back. In this video, we'll understand how to provide close to accurate estimations. Okay, so the technique that we are using is to divide the problem into smallest possible units. Okay, and from our experience of writing test cases and our experience of checking the standard approach to write test cases, we'll use that as well while providing estimation. Okay, so what is the first thing that we need to do while writing or providing estimation? So the first phase of STLC, software testing lifecycle, is analysis. So when the QA gets any new project, they need to do analysis. Okay, in our case it is about login and registration. Okay, so login and registration is a small module. Okay, so to understand it, we say we have written as analysis. Okay, so first column is task, second is subtask, third is estimation in hours, the fourth one is owner. As of now we'll skip it, and then there are comments. Okay, so the first, always include analysis in your estimation. So just gauge that how much time it will require you to analyze this registration and login model. So if you can see the definition, it is quite simple. Okay, it is not so difficult. So here I have considered 1 hour for analysis of our registration and login module. Okay, now please note that the time varies from one QA to another. If there is an experienced QA, then he can probably do the analysis in 15 or 20 minutes. But if someone is a fresher, then it may need 2 hours. Okay, but here I am keeping it general. So always include time for analysis. So how, if you feel that it will, for some complex system, if it can take 2 days, then you can write 16 hours. Okay, then always include time that is required to write test cases. Now say if you are a fresher, okay, so for a fresher, writing the test cases for registration and login module, it can take 2 days. Okay, if you want me to write, I can write it down in 3 hours or probably 2 hours. Okay, so an experienced person can write it out in 2 to 3 hours, but here I am thinking from a fresher's perspective, for someone who has just joined IT as a software tester. Okay, so they need to think a lot before writing. Okay, so considering that, you have to gauge yourself that how much as a QA you will require time to write down all these test cases, that is registration and login. Okay, so from a fresher's perspective, I have mentioned it as 16 hours, that is 2 days, right? Now if you remember, we have divided our problem statement into different modules. Okay, registration and login. The same thing we have to do with estimation. Again, we have to divide our problem statement into multiple modules. So we have two modules, registration and login. Okay, and how we have written test cases? We have written test cases by dividing each module into different type of testing, like positive test cases, negative test cases, UI, UX, integration, compatibility, security testing, app load time of registration and login, load testing, stress testing, and ad hoc. Okay, so the same thing that we have done for writing test cases, same items we have to mention here, because that is what we are going to test, right? So for registration and for login, we have mentioned the same thing. So we let's consider the positive testing for registration page. So we have this test data. So we need to try out with these many entries. Like so, try all positive testing with these many user IDs, these many passwords, then one mobile, then a couple of email, and only one address. Okay. So considering that, in order to test all positive test scenarios for registration, one can say that it can be done in 3 hours. Now, again, it completely varies from a fresher to an experienced candidate. But I really want you to focus on how we are dividing the tasks and subtasks. That is the main thing. So, as a fresher, uh, this is the important point. Otherwise, what if you forget compatibility testing, security testing, stress testing, and ad hoc testing? Then you will miss all these estimation. So the first point is to divide it. Always include analysis part into estimation. So consider analysis while estimation. Consider the time for writing test cases into estimation. Then we have that standard rule of dividing the whole problem into multiple functionalities or modules. So we have divided into registration and login module. Okay. And then we have mentioned the subtasks. The subtasks are different types of testing types which we have seen in the standard approach. And then we have to just visualize that how much time do we need to do positive testing on a registration page, then how much time it will require to do negative testing on registration page. So we have this negative test data. So considering this that user ID might have this many values, then we'll test all different types of password, negative passwords, then all different types of mobile or email and address field. Okay. So we need to go through and think that how much time it will require to test each and every negative user ID, password, confirm password. So as per my opinion, I think it should be done in 4 hours. Okay, now again, look, estimation will vary. So as a fresher, I would like you to keep testing yourself. Okay, it will take some 6 to 8 months if you go through this technique. It will take six to 8 months to perfect it. Okay, so for first 6 to 8 months, it is okay if you commit mistakes while giving estimation. But the thing is, it is about process. Okay, uh, you should not miss any of the points from here. That is the first thing. And then the main thing is to write down the correct estimation. Okay, so this comes with experience. Then we have to test UI and UX. So I think the UI and UX of the registration page is not too complex, so we have considered 2 hours. For integration testing, it is simple. We have to first register with a first do a valid registration and then followed by login. So whether we are able to log in with the same user ID with and password with which we have registered, so that we need to check. So it will take kind of half an hour. So for integration testing, will take half an hour. Now, compatibility testing, it might need some more time because it requires some discussion with the developers or check the UI in different browsers. Then we need to do some smoke testing in different browsers, right? So we can take 4 or 5 hours here. I mentioned five. Then we need to do some security testing, right? I have mentioned some test cases. So you can visualize what you can test from security perspective. You can check database that password should not be stored in an in plain text. Then uh, it has to be HTTPS. Then when we do registration, the user ID and password should not be seen in the URL. Then we'll see app load time, registration load time, and login load time. Then l- load testing and stress testing. As a manual tester, the reason I have kept it at zero because maybe the advanced or automated testing team will be doing that. As a manual tester, you have to mention that in the estimation, but you won't be responsible for doing it as a fresher. Okay. Then ad hoc testing. Ad hoc testing meaning we are checking the internet fluctuation, back button, hibernate scenarios, closing the laptop abruptly, and so on. Okay. So for registration page, by if we need to hibernate the machine or lock the machine, then it can take some time. Okay. And we need to check what happens if we keep the website open for 2 hours without doing anything. So such kind of scenarios comes under ad hoc testing. Okay. So for that, I have considered 8 hours. Now the same thing will follow with login module. Okay. And we have given the estimation. You can check it afterwards. Okay. Or how you think about it. So for positive testing, for not registration, I think login, I'll change that to login page. Okay. So for testing the positive scenario, we'll enter a valid user ID and valid password, and then see whether we are able to log in. So that won't take more than 30 minutes. Okay. So I have considered zero point 0.5. Then negative testing. So for negative testing, we'll enter valid user ID, invalid password, invalid user ID, valid password, invalid user, invalid password. Okay. And there are like 3 to 4 scenarios. So again, that will take half an hour. The UI and UX of a simple login page that we have, it won't take much time. So again, it will be zero point 0.5 hours, that is 30 minutes. Compatibility testing, we need to test it on different browsers. Okay. Now it's not a very difficult thing to test. We only have user ID and password, and then we need to press login button. So to test it on multiple browser, I think it can take only 1 hour. So likewise, for ad hoc testing, will take 4 hours. Okay. So in the same way, same fashion that we have written the test cases, in the same way we have to divide everything. So the first column is task, what task we are doing, and then if we have subtask for the same, and then the third column is estimation. Okay. And the fourth column is comments. So how easy it is to review. Say your supervisor comes and he asks you to show the estimation file. So how easy it is to see. He will check, okay, you have considered estimation for analysis, then you have considered the estimation for test cases. Then there is one module that is registration, and it is very well divided into different types of testing. Then the another module is login, and it is again very well divided. Now say if you have missed these things, okay, then your supervisor will come and say that why you have not mentioned compatibility testing and security testing into estimation. Okay. So it is also very easy to review likewise. Okay. Now we have done the estimation. Now there is one tricky part. We will find the summation of all the hours that we have mentioned, and that comes down to 60 hours. Okay. So total hours, the total estimation is 60 hours. We have done the summation from here to, let me show you. I have done summation from here to here. All the estimation for login and registration is added, and that comes down to 60 hours. Okay. Now 1 man hour is equal to 8 hours. Why? Because uh, our timings say we have the timings of 9 to 6 with 1 hour of break. Then total we have 8 hours for a day. Okay. Then we should also figure out how much is our effective working hour. That is, if I go to office, I have 8 hours, right? But 1 hour I spend in with my QA team, and 1 hour I spend with the management and discussion with the developers. So daily I spend 2 hours in non-technical work. Okay, that is in meetings, in discussions with, in interviews and so on. Okay, so everyone should know that what is his effective working hours. So say if my effective working hours is 6 hours, then in how much days I'll be able to do the job? 60 divided by 8, 7.5, or 60 divided by 6, that is 10 days. So the answer is I will be able to complete the task in 10 days because my effective working hours is 6. So here if you can see the formula C25, C25 60 hours, that is the total time that I need to uh, complete the task, and my effective working hours is C27, that is 6 hours. Daily I can only work for 6 hours. So 60 divided by 6 is equal to 10. So I will complete the whole testing of registration and login module in 10 days. Okay, so if your supervisor comes to you and say that why you need 10 days, then you can show him this estimation file and discuss with him. So usually when a junior or a newcomer, he writes an estimation that is given, that is discussed with the supervisor. Okay, so you can explain that you have considered time for analysis, you have considered some good enough time for writing test cases, that is 2 days 16 hours. Then you have divided the whole testing into registration and login module, and in registration we further divide into different type of testing, and for login again we divide into different type of testing. Okay, so depending on that you can discuss it with the supervisors, and if he is okay with that, then you can take your 10 days and test the system thoroughly. Okay, so this is how we give estimation. The approach to write the estimation or provide the estimation and writing the test cases is same. First, do the analysis and consider the time taken for analysis. Okay, then divide the whole system into different modules or functionality. In our case, it is registration and module, and then divide the different modules into different types of testing, which we have done here, like positive, negative, UI, UX, compatibility, security, load testing, stress testing, ad hoc, and so on. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we take the system and the, keep dividing the system into finest, minute possible unit, and then we have to give the estimation of that smaller tasks. Okay, in this way, it is very easy to review the test cases and estimation file. Now, one important thing that I forgot to mention is buffer time. You have got 60 hours. Okay. Now, you should always consider some 20% as buffer time. Okay. Why? Because it may happen that sometimes developer can delay providing you the build. Okay. So, this is not QA's mistake, right? Or say one of your employees is absent or has taken half day. Okay. Or say there is power failure. So for such kind of things, we always consider 20% as buffer time. So if your actual time to test the software is 50 hours, let us check what is our actual time. So our actual time to test this system is, here I'll do summation and let me see what it is. Okay, it is 50 hours. Okay, so if if we add 20% to 50, it comes down to 10 hours. So 50 plus 10 is 60. So I have already considered 20% as buffer time. So whatever estimation you get for executing the whole system, okay, the time required by you to test the system is 50 hours. Add 20% of buffer time to it. Okay, because we know, as per my experience, and as 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 maybe you might also experience in future, 20% of time goes into some of the ad hoc things. Okay, so you should always add 20% as buffer time, and you can also tell your supervisor that 20, you have considered 20% as buffer time. Now, in whatever company you work, if the estimate, if the buffer time is more, or if the buffer time is less, then you can adjust accordingly, but you should add buffer time. Okay, so after adding the buffer time, and after dividing it by effective working hours, in your case it is 6. If you know that you are able to work for only 6 hours out of 8 hours, then divide your total working hours with your effective working hours, and you'll get 10 10 working days. Okay, so if today is 10th date of the month, then you will be able to wrap up your task on 20th, considering that there are no holidays in between. Okay, so this is how we provide estimations. We need to keep dividing the stuff. Okay, so I hope you have liked this lecture. I'll see you in the upcoming videos. Thank you.